I'm
Oh,
good.
hi.
Lovely.
So nice to see people.
Yeah.
I've never seen Caroline without a swim cap on.
I saw her Wowza interview. She has a lot of hair.
I saw that interview. That was amazing.
It wasn't wonderful.
You look cold, John.
Not at all. It's nice. People shouldn't pay any attention to my perception of cold.
True.
I'll need more tea eventually.
Somebody's teeth ready. I hear the beeper.
Sorry.
That's okay. I love it. It's like we're
No, I was up in the middle of
in
the
each
night.
other's houses.
I would share, but
I know.
I post on my other Facebook page if anybody needs food.
Morning, everyone. We'll wait a couple more minutes before we get started. And our guest today, Elizabeth, I don't think you've been here before. So do you know how we do things? We usually have a little meet the lane mates.
Yeah, I've watched the videos, so afterwards.
Say that again, Elizabeth.
I said I've watched the videos. Yeah.
Elizabeth, you did your hair and you had the makeup on?
What?
Someone sounds like they're underwater.
You did your hair and you had makeup on, Elizabeth?
I do. I always do.
Wow. You always do? Oh my Lord.
I always do.
You are a Southern belle.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you have to be done to go to the mailbox, so. Somebody's gonna talk about you.
Now might not be the time to mention that I haven't worn underwear in like
One more minute. Before we do our breakout, we have some really, I mean, I'm very excited about all of our guests, but we have some especially exciting guests coming up. And I just want to reiterate, I think I've said this in one of our meetings before. I do this because I love all you guys and I love being able to connect with you in ways that we haven't been able to connect even when we're at events. And some of you I've never even met before until now. And I'm Shannon Keegan, by the way, in case you don't know me. but if there's ever anything more that you want, questions, I like kind of taking us down the same path of questions with people. And kind of getting into people's brains that way, but I'm also trying to figure out how to be a better interviewer. and so if you ever have any feedback from me, please let me know. I really do want this to be for all of us. So PM me anytime on Facebook or email me or whatever way you're comfortable communicating. You can give me a phone call too. I have a hard time picking up my phone, but I'll try. So just want to put that out there. It is 5 after, so let's do our breakout. For our topic today, let's talk about, are you a side sleeper, a back sleeper, a belly sleeper?
You mean in the water?
Take it wherever you like. I like this to be interpretation. Let's go for, yeah, we'll try 3 to 4 today. So I'll see you at about 20 till, so we can talk to Elizabeth. I hope this works for you, Caroline. Let me know if you have trouble. Headphones today. I'll try that out. Everybody, let's see. Breakout rooms are closing.
Wait a minute.
in 19 seconds.
I lost my video. Here we go. Hi, Diane. Hi. How's it going, girls?
All right. 6 more seconds.
Oh.
All right. Another thing, I guess, a little Zoom tip, if you haven't Zoomed much, there are two views. So there's the, you can see everybody view. I don't remember what that one's called. And then there's a speaker view. So if you want to be looking like at the person talking instead of a little part of your screen over here where Elizabeth is, there's a little button on the top corner usually that goes, pivots between gallery view and speaker view. So now that I brought that to your attention, I'm going to just grab a quick screenshot of everybody waving for the gallery view.
Okay, let me do this gallery view. Okay, so
and then we'll have Elizabeth tell us. I like switching.
I could.
Not looking over here. Elizabeth, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm born and raised from Atlanta. Still live in Atlanta. I grew up swimming just County Swim League and Dynamo Swim Club. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. And Swim Atlanta. And I actually just went out. I mean, I was in good shape for running. I was in good shape for running from swimming, and just went out in 8th grade and started running, and found out that I was pretty good at it. So I stopped swimming probably in the 8th grade, and then ran all through high school. Didn't start swimming again until actually I graduated from pharmacy school, just because I needed a stress reliever and needed a hobby, and just one thing led to another, and I kind of just stumbled upon marathon swimming, and I loved it. So, but my day job, I'm a pharmacist, and before that I was a flight attendant, and before that I was a scuba diving instructor. So I think this is my final job. I would like to change again, but my husband says that that's too many changes in a lifetime. So
Why?
You've got the rest of your life.
I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
I think this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Where's your favorite place to swim?
I like San Francisco, the Bay.
Yeah.
So
what led you to San Francisco the first time?
Actually, I didn't swim out there until I guess it was late 2017. My cat keeps trying to knock the computer off. Because I'd gone out there to do a English Channel qualifier and Pacific Open Water. I had kind of gotten in touch with Sylvia. And actually, this is the second time I'd actually swum in the Pacific Ocean, probably a month before. A month before I'd done the La Jolla 10-mile relay. I told her I needed a qualifier, and then went out there and swam. And then the last 2 years I've done the 24-hour relay out there. So if I get a chance to go out and swim there, I will. So
very cool. What about your favorite places to swim? Well, wait, we did that one. Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
Up this morning. When did you do your first marathon swim?
That was Swim Around Key West in 2013. I wanted to do it by myself, but my husband's like, there's no way you can swim 12.5 miles. So he got his friend that lived down in Fort Lauderdale to swim it as a relay with me. And we took 3rd place in the relay division. And he got out of the water, and he's like, I can't believe your wife wants to swim around this whole thing. And he was done. He was like, this is not my cup of tea. And I was like, I want to go find more swims. So I went home and started looking, and I found this thing called the Manhattan Island Marathon Swim. And I was like, wow, it's like, that's kind of gross, but it's intriguing at the same time. So, and then I was like, well, I can't swim 28 miles right now. So I kept looking, and then I found Swim Around Charleston, and signed up for that, did the 12 miles there. Very slow. I was not in shape for it. Almost at the time limit. So, but I still wanted more. So.
Why do you think you keep gravitating to marathon swims?
It's just, I like the people. And I like, because I was into like triathlon and everything, and everyone's people are so competitive in swimming, but it's a lot more social. It's more laid back. And just the swimming part is just meditative. So like, I hate cycling. So I don't have to cycle. Yeah.
How do you describe the feeling of completing a marathon swim?
It's a rush. It's just very satisfying just to know that you put the work in and you finished. And
I think you're the first person to say satisfying, but I appreciate that a lot. Because I guess I feel maybe feel the same way, but yeah, awesome. What is your favorite all-time event that you've participated in?
SCAR. I found out, I didn't know about SCAR. I had heard of the Tampa Bay Marathon Swim. And so I started training for that. And in the process of training for that, I met this guy at Lifetime Fitness that he would train outdoors all winter with no heater. And I was like, I bet I could do that. Let me try that. So I started swimming outside with him. And then eventually, I guess he's like, this girl's not going away. So we started talking and he started telling me about SCAR. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sign up for that. I did. And it's like, I met a lot of people and learned a lot about events. That's how I discovered the Boston Lighthouse Swim, is because I think Kent put it on his website. And so I signed up for that too. And I was actually supposed to swim. I mean, everybody had heard the English Channel and I'd signed up for that, but I just wasn't in the right place to be able to do it at that point. So so I skipped it that year in 2017. So I ended up doing SCAR and the Boston Lighthouse that year. So.
What swim are you the most proud of?
My Catalina swim last year. I mean, it was slow. It was ugly, but I finished it. I was not rested. I'd been really sick the 2 weeks prior leading up to it. I was only probably about 70-80% going into it. And I'd already, like, a lot of times, there were several times that they wanted to pull me out, and I'd already told them, I was like, I'm not, the only way I'm coming out is if you have to fish me out. But it got really challenging at times. I had a head current the whole way. It was just, I mean, there were a lot of points that I wanted to stop and just kept going. So.
How did you keep going?
Well, my kayaker, she was very, very calm. And like, she's like, I know this is frustrating. And I'm like, frustrating is like identifying my emotions. Let's accept it. And so, you know, after I kind of like acknowledged my feelings, I was able to, I did like the fastest, like 3 miles of the swim. And it also helped that the current was changing, but just helped me kind of push through it. So.
Identifying your feelings, is that, or the kayaker, or both?
Because my companion swimmer, she was like, I guess it was about 11 miles. And Dan was like, you want the good news or the bad news? And I was like, well, is that a freighter or land? And he says, that's a freighter. And he's like, and you've been swimming into a current all night. And I was like, okay. He goes, but you're more than halfway. And I'm like, well, I can't be more than that much of halfway because I still see boats. That means I'm in the shipping lane. I should be seeing land 4 to 5 miles out. And I just put my head back down in the water and I was like, ugh. And then like I looked back up and Amber got in the water to come swim with me, and she got out and she's like, she's just rage swimming right now. So it's like, is it only, you know, I guess I punched the water for like maybe 6 miles and then finally got it together and took it on in. But that was a rough swim. So.
But you got through. That's awesome.
Yep.
Do you consider yourself a process or an outcome person?
I think I used to be in outcomes, but now I'm more into the process because like I'm keep going back and forth between trying to cancel my swim in September or not. Like yesterday, I was like all ready to write the email, and then like last night I get an email from Lifetime saying the pool's going to be open Monday, and I'm like, really? I'm like, if I'm not in the pool by June 1st, this is not going to happen. And it's like, my husband's like, really? He's like, you really think like May 24th, May 25th, and June 1st is going to be that big of a deal? Yeah, I do. Like, you know, I'd given myself like, you know, I started training back in March, and I've been holding steady with the yardage as much as I can, but it's not where it needs to be right now. So, but we'll see.
Do you want to divulge what that swim is in September?
It's the double Memphre. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I mean, I think it becomes mental. I mean, like cardiovascular wise, like I could do it, but it's like, it's going to be the mental challenge of not being in the best shape and just being in the water that long. That's
It's a long
crazy.
time to be in the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we all get that crazy.
Which I kind of wanted to feel like what 30 hours on the body feels like. And so I had the idea, I was watching my friend at Ironman Chattanooga last September, and I stood next to this guy that was doing the Ultraman. And I was like, oh, maybe that's what I should do. I can feel 30 hours on the body that way. So I went home and I tried to sign up, and the guy was like, oh no, we're full. And then he sends me a link in December and says, oh, you can do it in February. You can do the Ultraman in February. I'm like, I haven't been on a bike in like 4 years. So it's like, I'm going to be out riding my bike 200 miles every weekend. I was like, nah. He's like, well, why did you want to do it in the first place? I was like, I just needed to feel 30 hours on the body. And he's like, well, it's not 30 hours continuous. He's like, but it'll wreck you pretty good. So, like, yeah.
Wow. How do you adapt
thought that was funny.
Yeah. How do you adapt to changing conditions?
I don't really, well, denial, that's my coping mechanism. It's a very basic one. So, but I mean, usually I guess I'm just so focused on getting it done. I don't really, like the English Channel last year, I mean, the tide was changing and I'm just sitting there like, you know, on a feed taking like 2 minutes, and like my boat pilot's like, go, 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 go. And I didn't know, I was only like 500 meters because it was like the middle of the night. And I didn't notice anything. They're just like, go. I'm like, why are they all screaming at me? I had my earplugs in, I'm vomiting, like give me a minute. And he's like, we don't have a minute. So I guess denial, and I just don't observe. So
it just changes, and you just don't notice. You just deal with it. How about hard situations? How do you deal with hard situations?
Hard situations. I think that, I mean, I freak out, and I was reading an article about endurance sports the other day that there's a lot of crying, a lot of cursing, and a lot of bargaining. And if you're not doing those things, you're probably not doing it right. But I mean, will have a freak out, but I eventually get it together. But just in general, in life, like I think I deny, and then it like hits me in the face, and then I freak out, and then I have to deal with it. So,
yeah. I love it. Have you, in Atlanta, have you guys had like shelter-in-place orders, or how about this? Let me try the question again.
They've been very loose.
Yeah. How is, what has the pandemic, how has it affected you personally?
Well, there's been some pay cuts in my house. But I mean, no one in my close circle has been sick except for one of my coworkers. She was supposed to get married the third week of March, and of course that canceled. And she's from the Bronx, and then her father got COVID and passed away about 2 weeks ago. So she's had a, we're not that close, but we're close. So she's had a really rough couple months. So like your wedding canceling, your father dying, it's pretty intense. But as far as, I don't know, my routine, I already work from home 3 days a week, so that didn't change much. Just not being able to go out with, I still hang out a lot with the triathlon community here in Atlanta just because there's not a lot of swimmers. So like meeting up with them to do things, I haven't been able to do that, like social events. So, and then not going to the gym. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the regulations haven't been very strict here. So,
what motivates you to keep going?
just the goal setting, setting goals, and then having, you know, something to wake up and work toward. So, just having goals.
Yeah. What advice would you give to an aspiring marathon swimmer?
Start slow and build up. You know, I sort of did that. I mean, I didn't really train appropriately, but I did the, 6.5 miles and then the 12 miles. And I really wanted to do the Eaterly, but then that kind of, for a couple of years, that kind of got messed up. And that would have taken me to 18 and then gone to like 24. And like right now, like I'm doubling down. So like I've only been, I guess technically 21 miles, and then all of a sudden I'm going to do whatever. So
50.
yeah, I don't want to say the number because if I don't say it, it doesn't exist. So yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, do my best. And if I make it, I make it. If I don't, then just try again. So.
Yeah, that's good attitude. What about, can you tell us a little known fact about you?
Little known? I don't know. I'm pretty open, so. Yeah, don't trust me with the family secrets. So.
Liz, I don't think you've mentioned that you had the fastest Triple Crown, meaning I think you finished those 3 events within a shorter time period than anybody.
Yeah, it was like, I think 84 days, 85 days, something like that. So.
Pretty impressive.
Wow.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It didn't start out that way. It just, I wanted to do the, because it'd been a while since I'd done a marathon swim. I wanted to do Manhattan as kind of like a warm up or so, because I know it's supposed to be like 8 hours. So I applied, and then I got put on a, the private, what's it called? I don't know, where you do it like 2 people at a time. And I kind of really, I wanted to do it as a group. And they also had me in like, I think October. And I really don't have much luck with fall events because of hurricanes and whatnot. So it took a lot, but I was like, yeah, I think I'll turn it down and just wait till the next year. And then somewhere around May, it was Mother's Day last year, they called me up and they're like, hey, do you want to swim? I was like, sure. And then I had already booked Catalina because I couldn't get into New York. So I was like, well, I'll just go ahead and book Catalina. It'll be about the same temperature, which it was really cold last June. So it actually ended up being colder than the channel. And then I actually ended up swimming, like 14 and a half hours. So I knew that I could do that long. So that was very helpful too. But I booked Catalina just because I didn't get into New York, and then I got into New York. So it just kind of fell that way. But the turnaround time between New York and Catalina, other than being sick, that was a big problem too, because like I swam New York, didn't take a day off, came home, worked all week, flew out to California, crewed for a friend, came back, went to the emergency room that morning at like 4:30, and then went and worked all week. So, and then flew out to California again. So I was not rested, was not well. So that was kind of poor planning on that, but just fell into place. So.
Fell into place. Accidentally swam across.
Have you ever been rested for a swim?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever been rested for a swim?
The English Channel, and only because I got there a week early, and we went down to Dover, and there's not a whole lot to do once, I guess you've seen all the sites, but so I just kind of laid there for a while, and so I've been off work for a week at that point, and then I was supposed to swim. I was supposed to start like the night before, and I'm not like an early morning, like I can swim, like if I don't go to sleep, I guess I could swim all night, but I'm not like a wake up early person and go swim. And I ended up starting at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which is like, those are my hours. So I'd had a good night's sleep. Like I'd been up all day, and then I had to swim. I just woke up, had a good breakfast, went out, swam, came back, and it was done. So.
make that sound really easy.
Compared to Catalina, it was, I don't know. I think that the seas just kind of laid down, and like they turned on the heater that week, and it was
nice.
It was very nice. Yeah. So yeah, Catalina was kind of traumatic. So.
What's a favorite memory from one of your swims?
From one of my swims? I think when I went a little nuts in Catalina, like the observers and like my whole entire crew, they were laughing. And they were actually like thinking of putting my husband into protective custody. Because I don't like to know where I am or how much farther I have. And my husband's like, Lizzie, 2.25 miles. And I was like, I could see the shore. And I was like, what? No, that's still like another hour. And so I kind of went nuts on him. And yeah, I started like saying some really bad words. everybody knew I was a little delirious, and I hadn't been eating, so my blood sugar was low, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was fun.
Good memory.
So.
The
I
time
was really embarrassed about it, but apparently I guess everybody, I guess a lot of people don't just broadcast it and talk about it, but I guess everybody goes a little nuts, or at least that's the way I've been making myself feel better. So, yeah.
How about who should be a future guest on Marathon Swim Stories?
I think Jamie's already on the schedule, isn't she? Jamie Monahan.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Caroline, I see her up there.
Right.
Elizabeth Fry.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have questions for Elizabeth? I feel like she's a little elusive in her descriptions of things.
I want to talk to her husband and see what he really.
There we go.
There's some questions in the chat.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
How long did the English Channel take?
Yeah, that's my question.
12 hours and 1 minute.
Nice.
And if I'd have known all I had to do was stand up, like I could have been under 12. So whatever.
That's fast, though. I mean,
I would have liked to have been under 12. I mean, I know that sounds horrible. Like, at least you finished, right? And I'm like upset that it's 12:01, like, or at least 12 hours flat. But
I sense this competitive side of you.
Well, that I can understand, actually. I mean, just like from my running experience, when I got my fastest ever 1,500 meter run, and I wanted it under 6 minutes, and I didn't get under 6 minutes. I was like, it was so close though. And
well, it's like your Garmin when you're running and it's at like what 5.56 miles, and it's like, oh, you've got to go like 0.44 just to like round it out.
Exactly.
So yeah.
I think if you give too round a number for a marathon swim, though, people will assume you're lying.
Yeah.
I know it took me 12 hours. They're like, yeah, but what was the real time? Like, was it 12:01? Was it 11:59?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, those last 6 minutes were critical.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess my pilot was showing my husband. He's like, "You've got to get her faster on these feeds because every time, like, I don't know. I started getting really sick, so I'd have to puke every time I stopped, and so it was kept pushing us, like far left, and so I was having to swim more. And he's like, if she would just like feed and go, she'd be fine. But I don't know. Just glad I didn't have to swim another 2.5 hours.
Until you swim 50 miles, and then you'll get to see what 30 hours feels on the body, right?
It'll be different. Totally different.
See if it'll wreck me pretty good.
When I swam Memphremagog last year on the boat ride back to the start, I was like, I wonder what it would be like to still be like to turn around and to be swimming right now, because Stephen had just done his a couple months prior or something. So it was funny that it was.
Because you did yours in September, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was funny that it was on my mind, like and that made me think I needed to push for more. So of course that was on my radar this year, but yeah. I hope that swim still happens for you.
Yeah, I hope.
So
hope
another, you do the San Francisco relay in 2018? Because I was there that year.
No, 2019 and 2020.
Oh, okay. So
yeah. I think Caroline had been telling me about it for years, and that was the first time that I actually got out there. So.
It was a great time. I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah, it was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Susie does good work. Anything else for Elizabeth? All right. Well, John Gale is our speaker for Thursday, so hopefully you'll come and get to know John a little bit better. And Caroline, I'll be contacting you about sometime in June, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody again on Thursday.
Yay.
Great. See you on Thursday. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Bye.